Commissioner Valles? Commissioner Blackburn? Commissioner Castellanos?
Present.
Commissioner Holtz? Chairman Menifee.
First item is the approval of minutes of continued from May 13th, 2014, and it is Brandon White Homes' request to develop 3 contiguous parcels with 48 two-story townhomes. This request consists of a general plan amendment for residential suburban to medium residential, revision to the East Hills Master Plan, amending the land use of designation from planned development residential suburban to medium residential, a zone change from residential agriculture area district 3 to specific plan, a precise plan to allow construction of 48 town units, a tentative tract map for the subdivision of the property to create residential condominium units, and a tree removal permit to remove 44 trees. May we have a staff report at this time?
Senior Planner Fabiola Wong will be presenting that report.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. This item was continued from the May 13, 2014 Planning Commission meeting to allow the applicant to work with the neighbors regarding certain issues and concerns that were brought up during that meeting. The applicant held a meeting with the area residents on Thursday, May 15th, to discuss revisions to the project to address the concerns raised at the meeting, specifically those units located on the south of the stream bed along Oak Knoll. The applicant submitted a revised public outreach effort log that is attached to the staff report as attachment 6. The project proposes the consolidation of 3 contiguous parcels to construct 48 townhome units on a 5.35 acre site. This slide is the original layout of the project. And the next slide will show and bubble some of the changes that were proposed or the revisions. Basically, we have 2 triplexes where there used to be basically a 5 threeplexes and a 5 threeplexes. The total width, they changed the number of how they configure the layout. And along Oak Knoll specifically, they used to have 1 threeplex and 2 fiveplexes, and now they have 2 threeplexes and 1 fiveplex along here, which reduced the number of units to 11 rather than 13 that they had before. In order to do that, they also reconfigured the units around here, and they ended up losing 1 unit that had 2 units that had driveways. They went from 16 to 14 units. So now instead of the 16 units, 14 units will have a driveway. Each of the units will still have a two-cover parking attached garage, and 32 parking spaces were previously provided north of the project, and now there's going to be, 32 driveway spaces. Now there's going to be 28 driving spaces as a result of the units, being reduced. Before they have 48 surface parking spaces, and now they'll have 50 parking spaces. 35 were located on the north, and now there will be 33. There were some of the parking spaces along here. There's 4 parking spaces. They didn't change the color, so it was hard for me to find them. I just wanted to point that out. Those 4 parking spaces are there. And the 13 parking spaces that were provided along Ognall as a result of reducing the number of units, now there's going to be 17 parking spaces. As a result, obviously, some of the open space got reduced. This area became smaller, which is the western picnic area. It was 0.16 acre. Now it's about, it was 6,969 square feet. Now it's approximately 1,951. The central picnic area was 4.8 acres, and now it's 0.24. As you might notice, there was a unit that was added here at the end. So it still provides 48 units total, it's just in a different configuration. The southern picnic area still remains the same. That was unchanged. And the overall open space of the entire site was increased from 2.42 to 2.44 acres. So the revised project reduces the overall parking for the project by 2 parking spaces and the number of units providing a driveway from 16 to 14. However, the revised plan represents the consensus building that took place between the applicant and the neighbors. The elevations of the projects will remain the same as you saw on the last meeting. As mentioned before, the open space got reduced, and but it's still very functional. There's still plenty of areas for the future residents of the project to use. At the Planning Commission meeting of May 2013, the residents also raised concerns regarding the size of trees required as part of the mitigation measure for the removal of the trees at the site. The mitigation measure requires removal of trees to be replaced at a ratio of 2:1 with a 24-inch box tree. Based on the space and the setback available along Ognall, a larger tree will have a difficult time establishing. So, according to the applicant, the neighbors understood the constraints of installing larger trees, and they asked that a 48-inch box tree be installed in the landscape area between the 2 triplexes along Ognall Avenue Drive, which is shown on the site plan, which is right here. The applicant also met with the neighbors from 3118 Joy Street. These neighbors have raised concerns during the meeting about privacy issues since they have a pool in their backyard that is located approximately 30 feet away from the project's property line. This one is kind of difficult to see, and I was trying to get a close-up. But if I'm not mistaken, it's about, this is the proper line, this is where their pool is located. It's about 30 feet. In addition to that, their property is kind of at a different grade. It's like 2 feet below the project site grade. And the project proposes a 6-foot tall block wall. So basically, for someone to take a look at their backyard, somebody will have to make an effort because it's about the 6-foot wall, block wall plus the 2 feet difference is about 8 feet difference. And also, in addition to that, the applicant did meet with them and proposed to also install hedges to allow for further screening. Since privacy concerns, staff takes privacy concerns pretty serious. This is 3118 Joy Street. This is the property, and this is the pool that they have issues with or concerns about their privacy, rightfully so. The applicant also proposes to install hedges that can grow up to 20 to 20 feet in height. And when they get installed, they will be about 8 to 10 feet. So as soon as they get installed, they will provide some screening. This is an example of what they're proposing to install. And these are about 1 year old. So, and they're already probably about 13, 14 feet, I suspect, just based on the fact that it's higher than the building behind it. Therefore, staff believes that what the applicant is proposing is adequate to preserve those neighbors' privacy. In addition, due to the concerns raised by the neighbors regarding the pedestrian gate, the applicant eliminated the pedestrian gate along Ognall. Currently, there are no houses that front the north side of Ognall Drive, and such a condition will remain the same. All the buildings will be facing the interior of the project, and none will be facing Ognall. In addition, the project has been designed without vehicular access off of Ognall Drive. Based on the neighbors' concerns, the applicant, as I said before, removed the gate, and the only access allowed from Ognall will be for emergency vehicles. Staff believes that pedestrian gate is appropriate to provide a safe path of travel to school. The lack of connectivity will reduce the ability to walk to school and increase the travel distance. The removal of the pedestrian gate will likely increase vehicle trips on the streets by having to drive to the local schools. A safe path of travel to schools and connectivity can accomplish the following: increase the number of children walking or bicycling to and from school. Walking and biking provides younger people a degree of responsibility and independence, and biking and walking contributes to children's health and well-being, and active children tend to remain active. Decrease congestion created by automobiles around school sites during drop-off and pickup times, and reduce the noise and air pollution caused by idling vehicles during pick, drop-off, and pickup times. The isolation of most uses in large single complexes make them all but impossible to access by foot, and has led to the average person today making additional car trips daily to shop, work, school, and even for recreation. Such projects have been created to provide a sense of security by isolating projects from the surrounding uses. Such isolation is not conducive to creating a neighborhood identity and pride. Children should be able to freely access their environment to meet their needs without depending on others to take them to school or a classmate's house by automobile. An individual living at the proposed project could easily walk through residential streets west on Ognall Drive to Virginia Avenue to Mesa Drive to access Mesa Elementary School. This route will be a safer walking path than walking on Holt to West Garvey South along the 10 freeway to Barrancas Street. In addition, individuals who desire to walk in the neighborhood or to a nearby house access from Ognall Drive will not have that option. In addition, vehicle access is blocked where Ognall Drive intersects Joy Street. For those reasons, staff recommended a pedestrian gate along Ognall Drive. In terms of CEQA, the revised plans did not create any additional impacts that were not already analyzed, and mitigations measures proposed. Therefore, there was no need for recirculation or any additional noticing, since the project is essentially still the same. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolution recommending approval to the City Council of General Plan Amendment number 13-4, East Hills Master Plan Review number 13, Zone Change number 1304, and certifying the mitigative negative declaration of environmental impact, and also adopt resolutions approving precise plan 1307, and tentative parcel map number 72579. That concludes my presentation, and the applicant is also here, the environmental consultant, traffic consultant, as well as the city's traffic engineer, Miguel Hernandez, to answer additional questions you may have.
Ms. Wong,
Yes.
you did not, if I heard correctly, mention the tree removal permit. Do we not need that?
I apologize. That is correct. The tree removal permit, yes, is part of the track map. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, do any of the commissioners have questions you'd like to pose to our staff about their presentation? All right, then at this time, we'll open the public, excuse me, sir. We'll open the public hearing. Now, I'm going to ask each of the speakers, if there are any, to come forward and speak and limit themselves to 5 minutes so that we can get any and all through our agenda taken care of. We typically try to segregate and help the process by having those in favor of an issue speak first, and then those opposed to an issue speak first, and then we give the applicant an opportunity to respond to those positions. So the first, I have no cards of anybody wishing to speak. We have one, huh? Okay. So anyone interested in speaking on behalf of the project certainly can come forward this time. And yes, please.
Members of the Commission, good evening. My name is Annalisa Armino. I represent Brandywine Homes. Thank you for having us. First of all, I wanted to thank staff for all their diligence. These last 2 weeks have been extremely busy. It's given us time to work with the neighborhood. We've come to a consensus with all the neighbors in that we believe that it is their desire for us to remove the pedestrian gate, which we have done. We've also reconfigured the layout of the units along Oak Knoll, eliminating 2 of the units and relocating those to the center of the project. And with that, we concur with staff's recommendation of approval. We've reviewed the report, and if you have any questions at this time, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you. I have one. One of the things that was discussed at the last meeting, and I thought I saw some reconciliation in the report that the staff shared with us last week, was the planting of larger trees than those originally proposed. Did I miss something, or could you address that for us?
Chairman Menifee, everything is still consistent with the application that we filed. We had our biologists review the new layout versus the previous layout. There is, in essence, no additional impact to any of the oak trees. We're still proposing a sliding scale of 30, the removal of 35 to 44 oak trees. Pursuant to the city's tree ordinance, we are required to replace those trees at a ratio of 2 to 1. So we will plant, for every 1 tree we remove, we will replace it with 2 24-inch box trees, okay? Those have a certain circumference in the diameter in the size of the tree, and we have to allow for adequate space between the trees. So we are currently in the process of working with our biologist as well as our landscape architect in locating all 88 trees on the property. So there in essence is no change to the proposed tree removal permit.
So the issue of increasing the size of the trees when they're being planted has not been
It's 40, for instance, the 40-inch box tree that we're proposing to locate within the 2 buildings on Oak Knoll requires an additional 20 feet beyond the limits of the drip line of the tree. So in essence, if you place a 40-inch box tree and that canopy is 20 feet wide or 40 feet wide, you need an additional 20 feet beyond that. So in essence, there's inadequate room to accommodate large box specimens, but 24-inch boxes planted along and within the entire project at a ratio of 2 to 1 will be pretty significant. There will be 88 additional trees in addition to the 60 that we are retaining. So it's basically going to be an oak forest. We'll continue the oak forest that exists on the property. It's not going to change significantly.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just point of clarification, after you met with the neighbors and all that, they still are in favor of not having a gate, is that correct?
Correct. Commissioner Holtz, they felt very strongly that they did not want the potential for people to park there from the community, and we are technically over-parked on the property. We heard their concern. So our response to that, and as well as the Commission's comments from our last hearing, was to remove the pedestrian gate.
Thank you. Question for staff, but you are recommending a gate.
That is correct. One of the things that we're going to be talking a lot during the general plan update is connectivity. And basically also to how we're going to be creating safer path of travel for kids to walk to school, for people to be more active, not have to depend all the time on vehicles. Potentially I've seen in most neighborhoods, a lot of the times kids are being watched by grandparents that do not drive, but they do walk the kids to school. So you basically, if that is the case in this community as it is in most typical communities, you will be forcing them to be walking on busy streets that are not really safe or pleasant. All the paths to school are basically all public streets. Like I said, access, there's no vehicle or access at Joyce Street in Oak Knoll, which makes it even safer for people to walk. So staff believes for that reason that the pedestrian gate should remain and should be provided.
I'll hold my comments for later.
And I'd like to follow up just a moment on that. That we don't have necessarily a policy right now for that, but I think that what we've discussed here is a general concept of connectivity. And we also didn't provide this information in the original staff report. We wanted you to understand where that came from. We also wanted everyone to understand that it came from staff, not from the applicant. The applicant, I think, originally didn't want to put a gate there, but staff felt like that it might make sense for the neighborhood and for the residents who are going to live there. So that's where that came from. The Planning Commission is at their discretion how they want to move forward from here. But we wanted you to understand where it came from.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions to the applicant?
Has your company or you been in touch with the neighbors on, I think it's Joy Street? What is their feeling as far as the pedestrian gate?
There is no comment from, sorry.
Careful.
It's so big it would bite me. It's a very big fly. The comment from Joyce Street, there were no comments regarding the pedestrian access gate to and from Oak Knoll. The comments were restricted to the residents on Oak Knoll. No issues of concerns came from the Joyce Street residents.
How about Oak Knoll? Did they have concerns?
Oak Knoll clearly had concerns, primarily with the potential for people to park on Oak Knoll and enter the project area. In other words, to use this area to offset parking. I think that's the main concern that they had. And we heard that response, and that connection, mental connection that people could park there, we understood what they were saying. So we removed the gate.
I think Commissioner Holtz had a concern about about non-residents possibly parking there and having access to your property. I'm not speaking for him, but that would certainly be a concern of myself. Would it be access to get into the property and whatever vandalism, damage? That would be a concern I would have.
Yeah, we understand that issue. We're happy to leave the gate off of the plan. There's also the parking permitting process. There's the ability to ticket if you want to explore that option. I mean, that's something we haven't talked about, but really the community as a whole along Oak Knoll clearly said, please remove the pedestrian gate. So we did.
Okay, thank you.
But just to clarify, that was not my concern. My concern was for those homes that are on the bottom on Oak Knoll. It's very easy for the overflow parking for those people to park there and walk through the gate. That was my concern.
And that was the Oak Knoll
But there's ways to
concern.
mitigate that, I think, but I'm going to hold that till later when we have commission discussion.
Any other questions of our applicant? Thank you very much. Any other members of the audience wishing to speak on this project? I have two cards here for people who wish to speak against the project. One is Eric Donnelly. Mr. Donnelly, if you'll come forward.
Commissioners, I would like to applaud the applicant for listening to the residents of Oak Knoll, scheduling a meeting at my home where I met with two of the representatives as well as some neighbors. And when they presented that plan, that was awesome. They listened, they made a smaller massing, so the view into the back of their development really acts like single-family homes when you look at the size of the homes across from Oak Knoll. They did a great job. They listened. They did everything we asked, which is tremendous of them. It cost them at least 2 weeks in their development process. I'm in their business. That 2 weeks is real money to them. So thank you very much for doing that. After our meeting that was held at 4 o'clock, I spoke to 7 additional residents who weren't able to attend. On their behalf, I took this plan, spoke to all 7 of them. Every one of them was in great appreciation of the developer. And that's why you only see, I think, 3 residents from my street here today instead of 20 like last time. Why I'm speaking in opposition is because when I read the staff report today, I was pretty shocked when the staff felt so strongly to not only not really listen to what the residents had said, but not listen to what the applicant has said, and to add a page of their narrative and opinion on this pedestrian access. I'll just tell you a short story. I called the principal at Mesa Elementary, spoke with Ms. Hodgson, who's been the principal there for 13 years. She estimates she has 60 children who do not arrive at her school by car. 80% of them live at the apartments just directly adjacent. If you know that street on Barranca, there's 2 apartment buildings very close. She has a grand total of, same moth, a grand total of 2 children that ride their bicycles. Both of them live on Mesa Street. So literally they drive down Mesa Street, they make a right turn on Barranca, and they park their bikes. She said it's almost cute because it's about 200 feet from their front door to where you lock up your bikes. So I understand the planning thoughts of why we should have pedestrian-oriented developments and the like. I'm in that business, but that's really for master plan communities. What we're doing here is really sticking a infill project in. While some of these arguments may be valid in a master plan community, they aren't really in this type of development. So I please ask each and every one of you commissioners to please listen to the residents of Oak Knoll, have 25 people show up for the council meeting applauding your actions and applauding the developer in support of this project when it goes to council. And please, can you please add this condition so that nobody in the future, even if the developers leave and the homeowner association wants to add something, if you just add this very simple condition, no pedestrian access shall be permitted from the site to Oak Knoll Drive. Simple wording. You can put it in your motion to approve. We would ask you that. Thank you very much.
Donnelly?
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Joe Maxey. I live at 3148 East Oak Knoll, directly across from the development. I was in favor of it last time. This time I'm not, and it certainly has to do with the access gate. I spoke against that the last time. When we met with the developers, they were very accommodating, and they agreed. It was such a concern to us that they would recommend that it be removed. So we were under that impression. That's why, as Eric mentioned, there's 2 of us here tonight. Had we known that staff recommended it, they would have been here in objection also. I agree that the safety of the children is important. I'm not sure they took into consideration the development across the street from it. I think there's 65 homes. Is there any concern about those kids accessing Holt to get to Mesa and South Hills? I'm not sure they do. I believe it's simply for overflow parking. To look at the development with the access gate, those homes on the bottom, if they walk through the gate, they're closer to their homes than my house is to the street. So why wouldn't they park there? We were told from day one there would not be any pedestrian traffic or vehicle traffic on Oak Knoll Drive. Well, now there is. They say that there's no traffic because it's a closed street. So once they park going westbound, they've got to drive to the end of the street and turn around. So now we got traffic going east and west. There'll certainly be parking. So I request that, and I'm sure on behalf of the neighbors, that you vote to remove that from the project. That's our real concern. And you say the safety of the kids, I disagree with that issue. Like you say, my kids went up and down there. I've been there 27 years. There's never been an issue. If it's unsafe, then the city needs to make it safe. Do we need to put street stoplights or stop signs or crosswalks on Holt between Grand and Barranca? I don't know. But I would assume, and I'm sure the city attorney could talk to this, the city deems it unsafe. So are we to assume that if there's any unfortunate incidents on Holt between those two streets, does the city assume that liability and responsibility? I'm not sure. So please remove that part there on the city staff recommendation and keep it closed just like we were told from day one. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Maxey? No, thank you. I've just been handed a card from Imad Boutros, if I've said that right, I hope. Okay, thank you.
I live on Joy Street. My backyard directly is the project, and I am impacted more than anybody else in this area. My backyard is going to be the parking lot of the units that are close towards Joy Street. Okay. My backyard is going to be where the parking lot is for the project. And I met with the representative of the development company, and I asked them to see if they can remove at least one of the parking spaces that's really intruding very close to my property line. I'm concerned of the noise, the pollution, and the alarms going off when you park the cars, and that's the only concern I have. They said they will build a 6 feet brick wall between us and the project. I'm not sure if 6 feet is going to be high enough, but if this is what the city ordinance is, I can't argue that. I like it to be higher than 6 feet. And I'd like to see 1 or 2 parking spaces removed, the ones that are going into my, right against my property line. Right there, right at the very left.
Thank you.
Yeah, right there.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? No, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this topic? At this time, we would normally allow the applicant, if she wishes to come forward and add any comments or clarifications. I don't know that you have any, but you're welcome to do so.
Just wanted to comment on Mr. Boutros' parking. There's one particular stall at the very western edge, and we did meet with him. We're very happy to work with him and remove that one stall and replace it with one of the 88 trees we're planting. So, we're happy to do that, and it's not a problem if it's okay with staff. And then in regards to the pedestrian, probably an issue for discussion.
One moment, I think we have a question.
Just one question, that if indeed you move that one parking spot, is that a community parking spot, or would that be one that would be allotted to one of the buildings?
No, it's part of the general open parking, and we're parked at a ratio of 3.62 parking stalls per dwelling unit, which is far exceeds the standard. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll close the public testimony at this time and open for commission discussion. Who would like to speak?
I'd like to applaud you people. This has been one of the smoothest projects that I've ever been involved in as far as the cooperation between the residents and the applicant. And it seems like everything that's been asked for has been granted, and they're willing to bend over backwards. The issue about the gate, if you've ever been around the schools, I don't think there's a kid today that walks to school. When I was a kid growing up in Chicago, God, snow, whatever, we'd go, they didn't even serve you lunch back and forth and all that. But today, you can't even get near the schools because of the parents dropping the kids off. And even if there's a pedestrian gate there, the way the street's laid out at Virginia for Mesa School and South Hills, I don't see that any kids are going to walk that route. There's been some talk about doing permit parking on Oak Knoll. Like each resident from Oak Knoll will get a couple of permits so they could park there. But I don't think it's the residents that are concerned about parking there, because most of the homes on Oak Knoll, excuse me, that I've seen have really large setbacks in their front yards and in big driveways. So I don't know that the overflow, unless it's a big party, that anybody'd want to park there. So if the residents don't want that gate, I don't think it's an issue with the kids going to school. That's my personal opinion, because the kids are going to be driven to school. They are now, and they will continue to be driven to school. So if that's what the residents want, I think it's a small donation to give up from staff to say that they should have it. So I'm in favor of not having the gate, and the rest of the project goes forward. I think it's a great project. So that's my feeling on it.
Thank you. Who else would like to say? Yes, Mr. Baez.
Yes, I would also like to concur with the response from Commissioner Holtz about that gate. And also I like to compliment the developers that they have taken their time to listen to the residents there, and they have tried to comply with whatever their needs they are. So it's a beautiful development, and I am with Commissioner Holtz that no gate be installed in the area there.
Thank you, Commissioner Blackburn.
Apologize to Commissioner Holtz on the, my impression that you were concerned about maybe some crime and so forth with that gate. But anyway, I was in favor of this project last time. Compliments again to echo my fellow commissioners. I think you've done a great job, and to hear the owners of the properties close by and working not only with you but with staff, compliments to everybody. And again, to have you to hopefully make everybody happy. As far as the gate, I would definitely not be in favor of the gate, from what I understand. And I do agree with the speaker about Mesa. I have two kids who went to Mesa, went to South Hills, and actually they rode the bus to Mesa. But I don't remember anybody, a long time ago, I don't remember too many kids walking to school. I see some of them walking across that live in the neighborhood through the crosswalk, but I've been down to the property, and I just haven't seen a lot of people walking their kids to school. So I'd be in favor, love the project, great project, but I would not be in favor of the across the gate, pedestrian gate.
Thank you. Commissioner Castellanos?
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I agree with my fellow commissioners. I appreciate staff's hard work in this and recommendations, but based on what the public opinion is, I think going without a gate is a good idea. And well, for me personally, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because I could just hop that wall if I lived there and park there. But anyway, that's all I've got to say. I think everyone's done a great job with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Hop the wall, huh? Okay. Yes, I agree. I don't want to be redundant in our commitments and our conversations here, but I think the developer's done a great job. I think the community around the development has done a great job because we've seen other times when other places where that hasn't happened. And so there was something there. There was an openness on both sides that let us facilitate something that will be wonderful for our community, wonderful for the city, and wonderful for the people that are going to live there, and wonderful for the people around them. So that's win-win-win in my estimation. And so I certainly would approve this too. We need to address, Mr. Director, we need to address how we would deal with that section of the proposal that has to do with the gate.
The proposal doesn't have a gate. So there is nothing to deal. The applicant, yeah, it's just a report. It was by way of explanation of why it was in there to begin with. There's a lot of accusations about why it was in there, and we wanted it to be clear.
Thank you. Then I think we have to ask you at this point in time to read us some resolution numbers.
Yeah, there are 5 resolutions. So the first one is the mitigated negative declaration, which is 14-5612. The second is the general plan amendment and East Hills master plan revision, which is 14-5613. Then the zone change, which is 14-5614. Then the precise plan, which is 14-5615. And the track map and tree removal permit is 14-5616.
Okay. And the tree removal permit doesn't...
It's part of the, it's with the track map, so it'll be part of that last resolution.
All right, got it. Okay. All right. Anyone wishing to present a motion at this time?
Can we make a motion for all 5?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we're moving second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we have a unanimous decision on that. Thank you. Thank you all.
Just for clarification's sake, the application here was approved for the track map and the precise plan. The general plan, the zone change, and the CEQA document will be scheduled for an upcoming city council meeting, which we will be noticed for.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you. The next item is item 3, administrative use permit. The applicant, Chin Guek, 3040 East Hillside Drive, is requesting to construct a new 6,167 square foot, 2-story single-family residence, including an 837 square foot attached 3-car garage, on a 57,194 square foot lot. The existing single-family residence there will be demolished. At this time, I'd like to hear a staff report, please.
Assistant Planner Amy Davis will be presenting that report. We're working on the PowerPoint. We do have a PowerPoint, but our machine, as normally would happen, it froze up. So maybe we could take a couple minutes recess to get that working, because I think it's an important part of our presentation.
5-minute recess. And we are at the point on administrative use permit 1358 for staff report. Ms. Davis? Oh. Well, we have a majority. That's his problem.
You vote on something, you're supposed to say, decision is final, as a
Yeah.
city council for
Yeah,
10 days,
thank you.
whether it's favorable or not.
Thank you. Yeah, he took that up and that issue, but I was like, thank you. Has he been abducted? You found your pad. Okay, moving on to item 6. All right. Staff report on item 3, please.
Yes, Assistant Planner Amy Davis will be presenting that report.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Menifee. Good evening, Commissioners. The applicant is proposing to construct a new 7,060 square foot two-story single-family residence, which includes an 893 square foot attached three-car garage on a 57,000 square foot lot. The subject site is an irregular shaped lot with varying topography. The site is adjacent to single-family homes on the north and west and city-owned open space on the south and east. The existing 3,600 square foot two-story single-family house, which was constructed in 1983, will be demolished. An administrative use permit is required because the applicant is proposing to construct a two-story home. Staff review of the surrounding neighborhood found that the area consists primarily of two-story single-family houses constructed between 1983 and 1984. Staff also conducted a survey of 18 homes surrounding the subject property. The surveyed homes are located on East Hillside Drive and Promontory Place. A chart is provided at the top of page 3 of the staff report that shows the mean and median lot size, square footage, number of bedrooms, and floor area ratio of the surveyed homes, as well as the proposed house. The proposed house would be 2.07 times larger than the average size of the surrounding surveyed homes. The proposed two-story house will feature 5 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. I would like to take a moment to point out that on sheet A1.1 of the plans, the floor plans were mislabeled. So what's labeled as the second floor plan is actually the first floor plan and vice versa. The applicant has been made aware of this. The new residence will feature concrete roof tile, smooth stucco and stone veneer exterior siding, and decorative elements including precast architectural molding, stone window sills, and wrought iron guardrails. Since the proposal is for a two-story home, the Subcommittee for Design Review reviewed the proposed house on April 8th of this year. The subcommittee recommended approval of the proposed house and directed staff to continue processing the administrative use permit application. During the 10-day public notice period, staff received 1 letter of concern and 1 request for a public hearing from adjacent property owners. These letters were included as attachments to the staff report. Both letters express a concern about the impact of the construction on adjacent properties as well as the public right-of-way due to the long, narrow driveway that will provide access to the construction area. Conditions of approval were included in the resolution to reduce construction impacts on adjacent properties as well as the public right-of-way. Pursuant to Section 15303 of the California Environmental Quality Act, the proposal is considered to be categorically exempt in that it consists of the construction of 1 single-family residence. The proposed two-story house will replace an existing two-story house in a neighborhood that consists primarily of two-story houses. The proposed house is in compliance with all zoning requirements and accordance with subcommittee guidelines. The proposed house will not be readily visible from the public right-of-way due to the varying topography of the subject site and the distance from the street to the proposed house. Therefore, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving administrative use permit number 13-58. This concludes the staff report. I would be happy to answer any questions you have this evening, and the applicant is in attendance this evening as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Holtz?
Yeah, just a point of clarification. On the first page, the notice of public hearing, it says it's a 6167 square foot two-story home and an 837 square foot garage, and then you go to attachment or agenda number 3, page 3, and it jumps to 7,060 with a 893 square foot. So which one is which? The very first page on notice of public hearing, you see where it's 6167 square foot and 837 square foot garage, and then you go to item number 3, and it says 7,060 square foot and an 893 square foot attached garage. Follow me?
Oh, yeah, I see.
While they're checking, I believe the answer to that is that the notice did not include the garage square footage.
No, both are wrong on.
What I'm saying is that it wasn't added. If I do the math, if you add 893 to the number that's on the notice, you'll get to 7,060. So let me say it a different way. The house size, the livable square footage of the house is 6,167 square feet. The garage is 893 square feet. The total floor area per our code then is 7,060. So it was misstated on the application.
Okay, so the 893 is included in the 760.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, well, that on the first page says including the 837.
Yes,
So,
I believe it's a typo.
So we're doing 7,060 and 893. That's what we're looking at. Okay. I just was confused why there were different numbers. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Thank you. Seeing none, I have a card from Mr. Murphy, Michael Murphy, wishing to speak against this project, please.
Well, perhaps you want to ask if the applicant is
I'm
here,
sorry.
just to make sure that they know, because they usually get the first right to discuss.
Excuse me, Mr. Murphy, one moment. If we have the applicant here tonight, would you wish to speak about this project?
I will answer any questions if know any concerns there.
Fine, that's fine. I'm sorry. Continue.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, staff, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I am an attorney, but my name is Michael Murphy. I'm an attorney, but I am also a long-time friend of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Ortega, who live at 3041 East Hillside Drive, which is directly across from the driveway that leads to the house that exists on the property now, and obviously where the new house will be built. The Ortegas have a couple of concerns, not so much about the development per se, but how and how the development gets accomplished. What isn't shown in the staff report, and it's hard to do this, I have a picture from Zillow that may show it, but this is there's a long narrow roadway that rises to what is basically a pad up on top of a hill, and that isn't readily apparent from the staff report. The roadway is narrow, there are slopes on one side, and so it is very difficult to understand how a normal progression of construction activity will take place without very adversely impacting Hillside Drive. And the major concerns are that apart from the fact that it will turn essentially a quiet residential street into a construction zone, it will also impact, from a personal standpoint, the ability of Mrs. Ortega's mother to have her caregivers come if there is no parking in front of the house because construction workers are parked there and then walking up the top of the hill. I think there are ways to mitigate the problems, and that's why I'm here tonight to make some what I call some small tweaks to the proposed resolution, and I think that would hopefully mitigate some of the problems that we're talking about. Specifically, going to the resolution, paragraph 5C. 5C talks about construction from, I think, 7 to 8 o'clock at night. It is my understanding that, at least an inquiry to somebody in, I think, the planning department, it wasn't Ms. Davis, that the rule in construction in residential areas is 7 to 7 anyway, so it should be 7 to 7. Resolution 5D talks about loading and unloading and trucks and the like starting at 6 in the morning and going to 8 o'clock at night. I don't think that's any less construction activity than actually hammering and nailing boards together, and we would propose that that also be 7 to 7. In fact, we would also propose that there be no trucks, construction-related trucks or cars related to the construction on Hillside until 7 o'clock in the morning. And the last one, which is probably to preserve the rights of the residents to have some parking for themselves and their guests in front of their houses, is to put a prohibition, an additional condition, that no cars or trucks related to the construction project will be parked on the north side of Hillside, and that they will always be parked on the south side of Hillside. That will reserve to the residents and their guests, and in Mrs. Ortega's case, to her caregivers, the ability to come to the house as they have up to this point in time. And those are the comments. I do have one other additional comment, which may not have been considered in doing this project, and I don't have a PowerPoint, but about 2 houses over, between 3020 Hillside and 3030 Hillside, there's a big wide strip, and you can see it. It's a swath which is a roadway, and we're not sure what that roadway is, but we're told it's a city easement. And to get to this this site, it would be much easier. I'm trying to. I've got it. I'm taking a look at this. That's Promontory. There's a roadway that they could access the back of the lot without impacting all those neighbors on the front of Hillside. I don't know if that's feasible. That's not what I was coming here to talk about. I would propose that that the resolutions be amended to reflect the 7 to 7 limitations and the no parking on the north side of Hillside for any construction-related vehicles, whether it be workers or trucks or the like. It is going to be very difficult for anybody to get a series of trucks up to that site, especially while the house is there. They have to demolish the house, then they'll have some staging area, but it's not a lot of room to be doing a lot of construction, so those trucks are going to have to go somewhere. And I know from personal experience, I have a house being built behind me for the last year and a half, and it is nothing but, I mean, you can forget driving your car through there, and frankly, you can forget totally walking through there because you don't know when you might get hit. So that's what Hillside should not become.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
When you're talking about parking on the south side of the street, I'm assuming you're saying that where there is no homeowners,
Right.
So in other words, once you get past the property at, what is it, 3036, 3030, they wouldn't be able to park there. It would be where there are no structures.
On the south side of Hillside, there are a couple of 2 or 3 homes from Promontory going over to the driveway.
Right.
And then as you go along the south side of Hillside, there's, I guess, a slope down where there are no homes.
Right.
I mean, we're not talking about just limiting it to the place where there's a slope down. We're talking about limiting it or basically saying that they can park along the south side, from Promontory or even beyond Promontory all the way there, but leaving the north side to the residents and their guests.
Well, but how about the residents at 3030, 3036?
Well,
I don't think they're
apparently
going to want to have trucks parked there.
They have long driveways and I don't speak for them, but there are only 2 or 3 houses there as opposed to the smaller frontage houses on the north side.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Murphy?
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward and make a few comments?
Can I ask a question to staff first? That
Sure.
area that he's talking about in the back, that brown dirt area, is that accessible? Can that be used, or is that inaccessible?
That area is a access for LA County flood control to access into the storm drain detention basin. And I think that house is higher than the detention basin, so there probably is no access.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sir.
We're acceptable to any, a reduction in construction period. I think we're
Could the gentleman say your name?
Oh, Chin Guok, applicant for the owners of the property. So we are agreeable to, a reduced construction time. And, if it would, appease the residents, if you could also set a zone where we could park construction vehicles in a limited area, I think we're agreeable to that too. As to means and methods of construction, I think it's pretty much up to the contractor. But, I think from their experience, they're pretty sensitive to the neighbors and they don't want to ruffle any feathers. If they need to use smaller construction vehicles, smaller truckloads, I'm sure they'll do that as well.
Thank you. The thought occurred to me while hearing the comments tonight that there is a long drive going up to the property that you're going to develop. And I'm wondering if along that drive there might be spaces where people could park that are working on the project.
Definitely they could park there, but if a truck needs to get access to the site, then all those vehicles have to be moved away.
Yeah, what I was thinking, not the drive itself, but if there was land pertinent to the driveway where without destroying the property, you could park temporarily with your...
Yeah, there is some space. I'm sure we can manage it. We can move stuff around a little.
Which then I would think would help the neighborhood feeling towards what's going on there.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you.
I actually had looked at the property, and you have quite a bit of space up above for parking.
Yes.
I'm not sure if the concern of having the trucks and cars and workers' trucks and so forth parked on the street. It appeared to me that you have quite a bit of space up above that for parking. And the other thing is, I think the building department does not allow any construction before 7 anyway, and so I don't think that would be a concern. And I think if you wanted to work past 7, you have to get a special permit. Is that correct? Yeah, so it's 7 to 7. So that's the hours of doing construction in the city of West Covina. But I was surprised at how much room you do have up above. Mm-hmm. So that might be a solution.
Yes, we'll definitely try to minimize the impact on the public right-of-way.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
wishing to speak on this subject? No. I will close the public testimony.
If I may, Honorable Chairman, point of clarification, I pulled up the applicable Municipal Code Section 15-95 just to confirm the hours of construction, and it's actually phrased in exclusatory language, but the resolution as stated actually does accurately depict what's in the code. So if the Commission would like to be more restrictive than that, based upon the circumstances of this particular site, it has the discretion to do so, but what is in the resolution does comply with the code.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's start. Any discussion we have?
I have a question.
Yes.
Basically, there in the code, you're saying that you can start work at 6 a.m. and go to 8 p.m.?
You can deliver and do the trucks at 6 a.m. And the way it's phrased is, I'll just read it. Between the hours of 8 p.m. one day and 7 a.m. the next day, it shall be unlawful for any person within a residential zone to, and then it goes on, essentially do construction-related activities. So it's exclusionary for the evening hours. And then in a separate subpart depicting unloading and loading activities, and between the hours of 8 p.m. of one day and 6 a.m. the next day, it's unlawful to engage in those activities.
Okay.
And Commissioner Blackburn is correct. There is a permit process to do work outside of those hours.
Yes, Commissioner Olds.
As long as the applicant is willing to go along with it, I don't see it's a no-brainer. 7 to 7, if that's what they agree to for loading, unloading, construction, and whatever, I think that's a fair thing to do. And I agree with the south side of the street, which should make it a little bit easier, besides on the property of the applicant.
Thank you. Anyone else? I certainly agree. I think that having served on the design review subcommittee and reviewed the structure, it certainly should be a nice piece of property. We don't want to be annoying to all the neighbors when we move into any piece of property. And so I like what I'm hearing, both in terms of the councilor's comments about what would be more appropriate, perhaps, and the applicant's wishing to appease those things. So I'm very much in favor of this project. I would certainly agree that we could limit it to 7 to 7 and hopefully take as much parking as we can off the streets completely, but restrict them to the south side otherwise. No other comments? Okay. Could we have some resolution numbers, please?
Yes, in this case, there's just one resolution. It's 14-5617. And when you make the motion, I think we understand that the commission would like to put some kind of standard on-street parking, but I'm still a little fuzzy exactly how you want to do that. And I can help you with wording if you want to just throw the concept out. But the maker of the motion should probably state what their idea of the restrictions on parking for construction vehicles would be.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'd make a motion that we approve the resolution with the hours of between 7 and 7. And as far as parking, do as much parking on the upper level where the construction is going to be taking place. And any surplus parking or additional parking for the contractors or their workers would be on the south side of Hillside.
You want to say south side of Hillside, or do you want to say south side of Hillside east of 3040 East Hillside?
Yes.
That would be fine. Just looking at the map, if you're going to the east, there's all kind of parking up there with no homes. So, I mean, that's okay.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Our motion will be affirmed by a 10-day period of time, a grace period during which it could be appealed to the City Council. Thank you. The next item is item 4. Code Amendment number 1304, consisting of certain amendments to zoning section of the West Covina Municipal Code as it pertains to commercial parking standards. Excuse me, parking standards. The proposed code amendment is exempt from California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15061B3. I'd like to hear a staff report at this time.
Thank you. This is a code amendment to look at amending the standards for commercial parking. And it's one that the Planning Commission has been working on for some time, beginning last July, initiating the code amendment and having a couple study sessions in the fall, and then a public hearing was held on March 11th, and there were some additional items that were suggested that we look into at that meeting, and so we have done that. Just by way, I want to summarize, to start us off here, to summarize what has been discussed before, just to call to your remembrance, so you know what you're voting on tonight. So we do have some individual use standards that are changing. Restaurant, we're going from, I think I'll just say what we're going to, and you can read on the thing because I think you're pretty well versed in this. Restaurant, going to a one space for every 100 square foot of floor area. Restaurant or outdoor seating, one space for every 150 square feet of floor area. And athletic gyms, gymnasium, or athletic clubs and gymnasiums, going to one space for every 150 square feet of floor area, or by parking study. For common facilities, which are shopping centers, basically for those shopping centers that are less than or equal to 5,000 square feet, or I'm sorry, greater than or equal to 5,000 square feet, it would be changed to allow for an automatic reduction of 5% and up to 15% reduction with the approval of a conditional use permit. And for those that are greater than or equal to 75,000 square feet, be changed to allow for an automatic 10% reduction and up to 20% reduction with the approval of a conditional use permit. For studios, like martial arts studios or art studios, those kind of things, for students that are less than 18 years of age, it would be one space per employee and one space for every 10 students. For studios with adults, basically, it's one space for every 2 employees and students. For restaurants that are under 2,500 square feet, we'd be changing it to one space for every 250 square feet of gross floor area. And for daycare centers, adult daycare centers, one space for every 5 children or adults.
I want to compliment you on getting those signs correct.
I probably deserve that compliment. Did you? And keep me honest on that.
Could you go back to the last slide?
Sure.
The second one, studios, 18 years or older.
Yes.
It says one space for what, 2 employees?
One space for every 2 employees and students.
How do you know how many students are going to be there?
Well, it's an administrative use permit, so we restrict it. We would ask the applicant first how many students they intend to have, and then we would put a number on the approval.
Okay, so every time there's a new class starts, you'd have to find out how many students are going to be in it?
No, the administrative use permit would be to approve the use period.
Okay.
So they would be, whenever we approve those type of uses, there's a cap on the number of students that they can have.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, under technology, we're changing convalescent homes to skilled nursing facility and assisted living facility, which is consistent with other sections of the code. Secondly, to eliminate standards for comprehensive plan facilities, parking districts, which we have none. We don't have any proposals right now to adopt any. And then lastly, clean up terminology concerning the maintenance of parking areas and parking ratios. This last slide is basically a discussion of the proposed changes that came about as a result of the discussion at the March 11th public hearing before the Planning Commission. And so the Commission at that time asked us to look into these 4 things, and we've looked into them and made some modifications to the proposed amendment that's before you as part of Attachment 1. First of all, and I'll read off the sections since if you're following along with the code. Section 26581, which is off-street parking under F3, joint use, which allows joint use of parking for daytime uses and nighttime uses. We've eliminated theater from the list of typical nighttime uses for consideration in joint parking. The concern expressed was that theaters can have weekend daytime peak traffic generation, therefore conflict with other daytime peak traffic generation. Number 2, 26-581 off-street parking J, multiple story parking. Multi-story parking standards currently include a requirement for drive-up ramps. The discussion was there are locations in Southern California where parking structures are operated with lifts and other types of newer technology. The Commission felt that the current wording was too restrictive. The section has been modified to state the following. The design of multiple-story parking structures shall be in compliance with Planning Commission Resolution number 2513. That resolution is the parking lot design standards, which include regulations for the construction of parking ramps. They do not require ramps, but they do have maximum grade that can be on a ramp. Fourth is off-street parking at 26-581, number K, commercial vehicle parking. The Planning Commission stated concern with the current standard for parking of commercial vehicles on commercial properties and shopping centers, basically. Staff surveyed surrounding cities to obtain information on how other cities address the issue, and that data is provided for you in Attachment 3. Staff is recommending revising the section and adopting standards similar to the City of Duarte's standards. The proposed standards would restrict the parking or storage of commercial vehicles having a maximum width in excess of 80 inches and a size in excess of 10,000 pounds, limiting such vehicles to allow their parking for 60 minutes to allow pickups and deliveries. And Attachment 4 provides you some information on weight categories for types of trucks. And we did find that most cities did have a limitation of 10,000. If they had a limitation at all, they had it at 10,000. That was their the benchmark. One city had 6,000, but we felt like the 10,000 probably made more sense. That would restrict people from storing large vehicles in a parking lot or parking their delivery trucks in a place where it's meant for the employees or customers. Lastly, 26-685.26, development standards and conditions, E5, that's for gymnasiums and athletic clubs. The Planning Commission requests that the last condition be deleted. That condition was a catch-all condition that states that Planning Commission can add other conditions that are reasonable for gymnasiums and athletic clubs. The Planning Commission always has that right with a conditional use permit, so that has been stricken. Staff is therefore recommending approval of the code amendment. If the Planning Commission votes to recommend approval, the code amendment will be scheduled for an upcoming City Council hearing. This concludes staff's presentation. Happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
None.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so looking around our audience, I want to see if anyone would like to speak on this subject.
Jeff, are
Seeing
we still
nothing but a...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
Are we still working on that other thing with the commercial parking and residential?
Yes, that is still something that we have on our list of to-dos.
Thank you.
All right, might we have a resolution number?
Yes. The resolution number will be 14-5618.
And there was one.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So I understand that this is a code amendment and will be submitted to the City Council at a future meeting. Thank you. The next item is non-hearing items. Number 5, a study session on medical marijuana dispensaries.
My presentation once again. Medical marijuana dispensaries was something that was initiated by the City Council on March 18th, 2014. And on April 8th, the Planning Commission held a study session at which the staff presented the concept to the Planning Commission just to gain an understanding of what the direction from the City Council was. So the purpose of this study session is to discuss amendments, possible amendments, or alternatives to the amendment to the code. The city does not currently allow medical marijuana dispensaries under the business license section of the code that only allows lawful businesses. To date, the city has relied upon that section of the municipal code to prohibit the establishment, location, and operation of medical marijuana dispensaries. And we have had requests in the past to do that. Based on the discussion at the March 18th, 2014 City Council meeting, they directed staff to prepare a code amendment which would have two parts, basically. One, to prohibit medical marijuana dispensaries in the city of West Covina, And secondly, to prepare a code amendment to provide standards and restrictions for medical marijuana dispensaries in the case that the federal government passes legislation requiring cities to allow medical marijuana dispensaries. So the first part of that, the prohibition, is fairly straightforward, and staff will work with the city attorney's office to determine the most appropriate place to put the prohibition in, on medical marijuana dispensaries, understanding that we don't have any sections in our code right now that list prohibited uses. So we're going to have to figure out the best method to do that. But I think we can do that with the city attorney's help. And so just, I'm not sure there's any alternatives there. If there's any discussion on this, then tonight would be a good night to have that if you wanted to provide any feedback on how we go about that, or if we should go about that in terms of the prohibition. Secondly, we have a chart that's going to compare the regulations for other uses that might have negative effects on neighboring uses, and also includes the city of Malibu. And I'll walk through that a little bit. We've been through, the Commission I think has been through some of these studies before, where we looked at uses and tried to figure out, well, these type of uses might have negative secondary effects, so we want to be cautious about where we put those uses. First use I have on the list is adult-oriented businesses, which is a long-established use required to every city to have that by the U.S. Constitution and court cases that have supported that. Tattooing also recently came to that same conclusion, that it was required by it was freedom of speech protected by the U.S. Constitution. Also, that's why that list is there, or is on the list. Third one is permanent makeup, which is a form of tattooing, only it's for makeup, not for emblems or drawings or something. It's supposed to look like your face, I think, if I understand it correctly. So that also was something we put some restrictions on probably about 10, 15 years ago when we looked at that. The fourth column is the city of Malibu, and we're going to go through each one of those in a few minutes here, but I wanted to kind of leave this up for a few minutes to show you, what the permit process is for each one of those uses, what the fee is for each one of those uses, what the approval, who has the approval authority, what zones they're allowed in, what separation requirements there are from sensitive uses, what separation requirements there are from the same use, and then other restrictions as might be noted. And I would point out that Malibu, City of Malibu clearly has a different geographic setting than West Covina, and it has a different shape, and I'm sure that their commercial zones are shaped differently than our commercial zones. So some of the things are not going to transfer directly. We have to look at our city and see what makes sense. When we looked at Malibu, well, we did some research and asked for the city attorney, and it was very helpful in looking at some other cities that they were aware of. But in our early research, we found that most of the cities we looked at only had a prohibition. They either relied upon, like we do, the business license section of the code to only allow lawful businesses, or they had determined to pass a prohibition. So it took us a while to find a city that allowed, and we did, you don't have to be too wise to know if the further north you go in California, the more likely you're going to run into some cities that allow them. And so we did find some cities up north that have some allowances, but many of their allowances were for different things than we were looking at here. Distribution, collectives, and harvesting, and that kind of thing, which we were not interested in that at all. So we didn't find very much helpful up there just because of the nature of the way things work up there. But we did come across Malibu, which has some restrictions that we thought were valuable. So we thought that maybe rather than, and we didn't find any other cities. And I'm not saying there's not other cities out there. We did find some other cities in the end of last week that I didn't have time to look through. So there are at least 2 other cities we have their codes for. And I can look through those. But mainly these other restrictions are standards or regulations on the way that a medical marijuana dispensary should or would be allowed to operate. And I thought Malibu had done a fairly good job, so I'm going to try to go through those quickly. I don't want to get too laborious in the presentation, but I'm not sure I have a better way to do it than just to go through them. And I think, as we've done in the past, if anybody has any questions, please interrupt me as we go through. It's probably easier to do that than to go back and figure out which item you want to ask a question about.
If we've all had the time to read, Mr. Director, do we have to spend some time having you read them to us?
No, you don't. I will take your advice on how to proceed. If you'd like me just to skip through the 17 points that Malibu has, and I know that you have them in front of you, even if you hadn't had a chance to read them, you can read them now. I can do that, if that's the pleasure of the commission.
May we have a feeling of consensus on that?
I agree.
All right.
Okay. And here I thought I was such a good orator that you would just be. All right, so we're going to skip past that. We're going to go to the...
Incidentally, the difference between a tattoo and permanent marking, is that what you call it?
Permanent makeup.
Permanent makeup. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck,
It's
it probably is.
Then it's permanent makeup, or?
A tattoo. A tattoo is a rose by any other. Excuse
Yeah.
me. Go ahead.
They are both tattooing, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go into this section here where this is our recommendation for where to go with these uses based on the chart, and I can go back to the chart if you'd like to, but in the first row on the chart was permit. So staff is recommending that a conditional use permit be required and require notice of 300 feet in a public hearing before the Planning Commission. And I'll stop and pause if anybody has any questions, then I'll just go on. Second one is the fee. The fee is $2,500 already set by fee and charge of the City Council. The approval of a conditional use permit is by the Planning Commission. So those are the first three. 4, where we get into the zones allowed, staff is recommending that they be allowed only in the RC and the M1 zones. We're fairly limited in where those zones are, and keep in mind this is not like an adult business use, which we may be talking about adult businesses because we're looking at a code amendment or at least a consideration of code changes to that, but there are legal standards that you have to meet in providing enough sites in town because it's a constitutionally protected use from freedom of speech. Well, obviously medical marijuana is not constitutionally protected, so it's up to the city to determine if they allow them and if they want to allow them in a very limited area or if they want to allow them in a broad area. So just to have that discussion, RC is basically 2 sections of town, in and around Eastland Center and in and around the Plaza Civic Center here, stretching over to about Glendora. Those are the 2 areas where we have regional commercial, which is RC. The only M1 area we have is at the very northwestern segment of the city, Azusa Canyon and San Bernardino Road. So the idea is that perhaps if we're going to allow them, those would be good locations because those sites are generally separated from residential uses by roads or washes, stream channels, those kind of things. There's very few places in either one of those where there's an adjacent residential use that abuts to a commercial use. So that's why we're suggesting that those 2 zones be allowed. Separation requirements, staff is recommending a separation of 500 feet from residential, religious facilities, public parks, and schools. Malibu has a larger one. That's one I want to point out. They showed 1,000, but if we go 1,000, we're going to greatly. What you end up doing if you do 1,000, actually in the regional commercial, is you push all the uses towards the freeway. So the only place to be allowed is along the freeway frontage. So that's an option, but what staff was thinking that might not be ideal, but that is an option. And in the M1 area, it would probably eliminate almost every single parcel in the M1 area. There might be 1 or 2 parcels where they might be allowed, but probably wouldn't be anything allowed in the M1. Separation from other medical marijuana dispensaries, staff recommends a 1,500-foot separation, which I think is the same thing as we do for tattooing. Thank you. And then staff is recommending that we just adopt, we prepare to adopt what the standards that Malibu has. That brings me to the conclusion. If the Planning Commission comes to a consensus tonight on these issues, staff will work with the City Attorney's Office and the Police Department to draft a code amendment and either bring that back as a hearing or if we come up with other issues to come back with a further study section of the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm amazed that you could come up with even what you've come up with. I cannot imagine how this commission can make any determination on something called standards and restrictions if the federal government requires cities to allow dispensaries without knowing what conditions the federal government will set when they say you might do this. So I certainly support the concept of the prohibition, but I I can't imagine any way that a sane, no, I'm sorry, that's not fair, that a commissioner could take a position on anything else. But we're open, so go ahead, commissioners.
And Chairman Menifee, if you'd like to, I know we don't have much of a public here, but if you'd like to ask for any public input, this might be appropriate. It's not required, but.
No, I'm not going to do that. Go ahead.
I have a question. Jeff, Mr. Anderson, on regards to the makeup, does that also include what they call eyebrow weaving?
No.
No, permanent makeup, I'm up here answering. I'm not the best person to answer this probably, but as I understand it, it's mostly tattooing of eyebrows and eyeliner. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's from your city attorney's limited experience with this. It's eyeliner seems to be the most popular.
Some of it could be lipstick.
Yeah, I've heard that around the lips too, yeah.
Well, that was interesting. Any comments about Are we here to make a motion? Are we here to just hear?
Well, you're really here to, I'm not sure a motion is required, but I probably would be good to provide direction to staff on where to go with preparation of a code amendment that the Planning Commission is going to would want to support or forward to the City Council. Well, the way the process works, sometimes the Planning Commission initiates a code amendment like they did with the commercial, and the City Council's not been involved in that, so they're probably going to. And other times it comes from the City Council, and the Planning Commission hasn't been involved in the thought process, and so they're. But City Council initiates, Planning Commission needs to provide a recommendation, and to provide a recommendation, you need to have a hearing. To have a hearing, you need to have a code amendment before you, and we need to prepare something. So basically, we're moving backwards. What we need direction from the Commission to move forward and prepare something to bring back for you to public hearing, so you can forward to the City Council. You're under no obligation as a body or an authority commission to agree with the City Council's direction in initiating this code amendment. The City Council really hasn't stated that they're going to approve. They've just initiated and said, let's study that. That's what a code amendment's about, studying an issue. So we've tried to provide you enough information so that we can have a discussion here that you can either say, do this, do that, don't do anything, or just go prohibit. But any of those things are on the table for you, but until you kind of give us direction on where to go to bring something back for a public hearing, we're sort of treading water and not moving anywhere.
Thank you. Well, my colleagues have heard my position, so I'd like to hear theirs. Go ahead, Mr. Blackner.
I agree with, I think every commissioner here would agree that prohibiting or prohibition would certainly be the correct thing to do. But on the other hand, I don't think, at least I'm not in a position, I don't think some of my fellow commissioners are in a position that we would want to try to regulate, because I'm not real sure what goes hand in hand with what the federal government says. And speaking to, like I say, the issues with regulation, I'm just not real sure what we could regulate. If we had some little bit more guidance maybe from the federal government. Unfortunately, the federal government, if you look at Colorado, it's against the law, but my golly, it's not only sold, marijuana sold for medical reasons, but recreational reasons. So I'm not real sure what this commission could do. I would certainly be in favor of, at least myself, prohibiting any dispensaries, but I'm not real sure what we could do as far as regulating them. So I just have to agree with with Mr. Menifee.
Commissioner Baez.
Well, my opinion is too, I'm against it. I'm against it, but if we have to set some regulations, perhaps since we have the Malibu regulations, we can follow those because, like you stated, that you only have 2 other cities, and what are the other 2 cities? Do you recall what are the other 2 cities?
I don't recall off the top of my head. I think one of them was Cotati, which is a city in the Bay Area.
Oh.
The other might have been Santa.
And I know the city of Los Angeles at one time or another has allowed them, and then they banned them, and they've gone through quite a process in this, and quite frankly, it's a mess. They are still there. And I don't mean to interrupt Commissioner Vallis' comments, but I think the Planning Commissioner's observations to this point are very astute. It's very difficult to predict what sort, if the federal government was ultimately going to allow it, whether they would allow only medical use, whether they would allow recreational use, whether they would give constitutional protection, akin to adult-oriented businesses or tattooing establishments. So it really is difficult, and the Commission would be speculating at this point.
Thank you. Commissioner Holtz?
I don't really know why we're doing this. I'm just confused because I know we've been asked by the council to do it, but I'm trying to remember there was another thing that we said we would wait to see what the state said on, I forget what it was. Maybe it was the vapors, cigarettes or something. And we said rather than go through all this, why don't we wait to see what comes down either from the feds or the state before we go through all this and just let it be as it is right now until we get more further direction. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I can't see doing a whole lot of work and then 2, 3, 4 months down the road, all of a sudden it's reversed on us. So then we have to cancel it. Does that make sense?
I would note that on the prohibition side, we have received some direction. The Supreme Court last May ruled that cities may completely ban marijuana dispensary locations. So there is some guidance on that point for a long period of time since the Compassionate Use Act and Medical Marijuana Program Act. It was really up for debate whether those medical exemptions for qualified patients preempted local regulation of those locations. There's clarity on that point now. So a prohibition that is within the city's authority.
Okay. Well, my opinion of medical marijuana is a joke. I mean, I think it's misused so greatly that I just don't know where to go with this thing. I really don't. Sorry.
Okay. Commissioner Castellanos.
Yeah, there's really not much more to add. We've got the ability to prohibit, and I mean, if we ever are required to comply with a federal law requiring us to provide standards and restrictions, and I think we should worry about it then.
Thank you. Well, I think we have a consensus that we would support prohibition, but that we don't want to go further than that until there's guidelines, until there's a sense of what is being expected. At the same time, I recognize that the planning department was directed by the city council to prepare something in that eventuality, whatever it is. So we're kind of left there, and I don't like putting you in a box either, Mr. Director.
Well, it depends on if you put stuff in the box for me to eat, then I'll be happy. I appreciate that, but I do understand that the Commission has their own independent reviewing authority, and I think that I pretty much got the consensus of the Commission that the Commission would like to move forward with a code amendment for prohibition. And so we will set about to do that, which, as you can imagine, is probably not a very difficult staff or a code amendment to prepare. It's probably just finding the right spot in the code to put that. And when we come back with that hearing, I may bring back further information that we have, just so that you are well-versed on the other cities' standards that we might have. Maybe bring back something like this presentation, maybe not go all the way through, but just remind you of what was there, just so you have that, and we follow through with what City Council's direction was. But again, the Planning Commission has complete authority to make whatever decision they think is appropriate. So,
Commissioner Blackburn.
Would it please City Council if we made, basically if we agreed upon prohibiting any marijuana dispensaries in the city? Is it as simple as that? Is that what they're looking for?
well, I don't know that I can specifically answer what those 5 individuals wanted as a collective. I know what direction was given in their motion, and I've expressed that already. But again, I think you guys have done a good job of providing. I think the commission has done a good job of providing me what their thought is.
Okay.
You know, you take 5 people here and you take 5 people there, and a lot of times you're going to come up with a different collective opinion. That's fine. That's part of the process. They will take that information and do what they think is most appropriate, and pass a code amendment or not, depending on what they decide to do. But you have the ability to make what recommendation you think is appropriate.
So I believe at this time we're all in agreement that we're going to ask the Planning Department to prepare a
Code amendment.
Code amendment, thank you, on prohibition of marijuana dispensaries.
Yes.
Within West Covina, and then we'll move towards a public hearing and
Yes.
the process. Is that correct? We're all together? We are.
Thank you.
The next item is a continuation of oral communications for all of you people out there who didn't get a chance to speak earlier this evening, in case you wish to do so. Please fill out a pink card and come forward, or don't. Thank you. All right. The next item is commission reports, comments, and miscellaneous items. This is the time when any member of the commission may bring a matter to the attention of the full commission that's within the scope of duties assigned to the commission. Anyone wish to speak? No. No.
Would this be a time to talk about the stipends that we were going to?
No. I do have a couple of items that may be preempting the planning director's report by asking at this time. But I noticed on a list that Lydia was so nice to provide to us, there's a May 28th celebration of the 90th birthday at the senior center, and I presume it's the 90th. This is the 90th birthday of the city, or the 90th birthday of the?
I believe it's the 90th birthday of the city. Yes.
The city. Okay, and that is, I think, tomorrow.
I apologize. I'm not aware of that event.
Okay. It's at the senior center between 9:30 and 1. But I wasn't quite sure as to whether it was the senior center that's 90 years old.
We will try to check the website and let you know, if
Okay.
not before the meeting's
Thank
over,
you.
after the meeting's over.
Another item was to remind us all that on June 20th through the 22nd, there's this wonderful training academy 19 at the Ontario Airport that I hope you've all signed up for, and we'll try every opportunity you have to get there. I think it's at no cost to us, and it's close enough that we can drive back and forth if we want, and if we need to carpool, we can do that, and I hope to see you all there. And that's...
We had to RSVP on that,
Yes.
didn't we?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't RSVP, so.
No later, it says, than Thursday, May the 22nd. This is now the 27th, but I suppose if you haven't done so, you might call and see if you can pull the chain. Planning director's report, please.
We have 2 items that will be, actually I'm ahead of myself too. There's nothing to report on the Planning Commission report.
Any city council actions?
Yeah, I have some city council actions.
All right.
At the next meeting, a week from today, there will be the appeal of the South Hills Country Club wireless facility. That will be heard by the Planning Commission or City Council that night. And then also the code amendment for guest houses is going to be heard that night as well.
I think we are adjourned.